The 6 keys she never told you. If you think desire is just positions and playlists, you're playing checkers on a chessboard. The real difference between a woman who merely tolerates you and a woman who can't stop thinking about you is simple: how deeply you guide her mind, body, and the hidden places of the heart into experiences she didn't know were possible. Stay with me to the very end, because once you understand these 6 keys, you'll stop guessing and start leading. You were never told this when you were younger, not because people wanted to hide it from you, but because few men ever earn the right to hear it. Most settle for finishing instead of awakening. They learn motions, not mastery, yet the truth has been waiting the whole time. The body is a doorway, and the mind is the palace behind it. If you know how to open both, you don't just become a man to her, you become the man her body remembers long after her mind tries to move on. This isn't only about the physical, it's about presence, intention, and the quiet command in your eyes when you look at her without a word. A single sentence can unlock more in her than 100 rushed touches. Still, when it comes to intimacy, the body matters, because it carries the mind with it. Women hold 6 hidden keys inside them, 6 distinct peaks of pleasure, and most men stumble onto 1 or 2 by accident, never realizing there's an entire map etched into her nervous system. You've heard that sex is natural, and you'll just figure it out. That myth keeps men average. Excellence in intimacy isn't an accident, it's discipline, patience, and sensitivity. It's learning her rhythms, honoring her boundaries, and knowing when to slow the tide so the storm can build. Pleasure, at its highest level, is not something you chase, it's something you guide. Not with force, but with focus. Not with tricks, but with timing. When you understand the 6 keys and how they fit together, you stop pushing for outcomes and start holding the frame. You become the calm center she can trust as she lets go. And once her body associates you with safety, depth, and discovery, you become unforgettable. Key 1. The clitoral orgasm, the spark, not the fire. Many men treat the clitoral orgasm as a finish line. It's powerful and can be intense, but on its own it lives at the surface, like sipping wine without letting it flood your senses. Used carelessly, it becomes a quick trick. In the hands of a patient man, it's ignition. Here's what most miss. The clitoris isn't a button, it's part of a network. Press it blindly and you'll flood a single wire. Honor the whole circuit, the breath, the pace, the steadiness of your presence, and the current spreads. If your energy screams, hurry up, her nervous system closes gates you can't see. She might still climax, but it will be shallow and forgettable. The man who understands this uses restraint as power. He gives her the peak when the moment calls for it, and just as importantly, he knows when to pull back, to hold her on the edge where craving turns into surrender. That's where memory imprints. That's where anticipation becomes an echo her body chases even after the night ends. The first key opens the door. Don't live in the threshold. Step through it with her. Key 2. The G-spot orgasm, trust, vulnerability, and bonding. Most have heard of it. Few have truly awakened it. The mistake is hunting for a spot as if there's a trophy to pick up. This isn't a scavenger hunt. The G-spot is both sensation and story, an emotional trigger woven into tissue. Approached with patience and connection, it can unearth something primal. Yes, anatomically it rests along the front wall within, but technique without trust is noise. What matters is the frame you hold, calm breath, grounded presence, and an energy that says, I'm not chasing a moment, I'm here with you. When she feels that safety, she can soften, not just physically but emotionally. And when she does, this climax can move her, sometimes into laughter, sometimes into tears, sometimes into a clinging embrace that says, without words, don't drop me. There's a reason this key forges bonds. At the right time, her body releases potent chemistry that links pleasure to person. It colors memory. You become a reference point she measures others against. Not because you won, but because you listened, waited, and entered with reverence. This isn't about control, it's about leaving a mark deeper than skin. Key 3. The blended orgasm, 2 rivers, 1 flood. This is the fusion of clitoral and G-spot pleasure at once. It's not speed or aggression, it's orchestration. Most men lose it here because coordination takes discipline. They overfocus on one sensation and starve the other. Or they rush and overwhelm before the foundation is ready. A true leader teases both currents until the edges blur. Imagine lighting two small fires and feeding them slowly until they merge into a single blaze. When a blended climax arrives, the nervous system lights up like a night sky. The experience doesn't just feel good, it rewrites her internal map. Her subconscious registers. Rare. Safe. Mine. That's how desire becomes attachment. Timing is everything. She needs to be fully in her body and fully trusting you before this works. If you try too soon, the moment passes. If you wait until her breath is deep and her awareness is melting, you can guide her into a place she's never been. Your job isn't to force an outcome, it's to hold the frame so the outcome unfolds. Afterward, she doesn't merely remember that she climaxed. She remembers you as the man who brought harmony to chaos and turned two rivers into one flood. Key 4. The cervical orgasm, depth, devotion, and the gate. This is the rarest and the most misunderstood. Many will never reach it, not because of physical limits, but because it demands emotional depth. The cervix is a gate, and it will not open to rushed hands or a restless mind. When the body isn't ready, contact can feel sharp or wrong. But when the body is fully open, when safety and trust are humming through her nervous system, this climax can unfold like a sunrise rather than explode like a firework. It is slow, rolling, all-consuming. She may tremble, she may weep, she may hold you as if a tide is pulling her away and you are the only anchor. Her body often associates this sensation with primal safety, creation, protection, and the deepest intimacy possible between a man and a woman. This isn't casual, it's not a party trick, it's a gift, and gifts lose magic when they're demanded. This key is not for every night. It asks you to approach with reverence, before, during, and after. Honor it sparingly. When you do, you become, in her private myth, the man who reached a place beyond technique and touched something sacred. Key 5. The anal orgasm, consent, surrender, and exclusive trust. Taboo for some, quietly desired by many, and commonly mishandled. Without the right frame, clear consent, mutual curiosity, and patient care, it can feel invasive or simply wrong. With the right frame, it can become a profound expression of surrender and trust. This area is rich with nerve pathways tied into deep pelvic pleasure. But the psychology is as important as the physiology. It must be her choice, your shared pace, and both of your boundaries. Rushed attempts shatter trust. Patient exploration, with ample preparation, openness, and ongoing check-ins, can create intimacy she speaks of to no one, but feels to her core. If she lets you in here, and if you give pleasure with care, you've crossed into a level of exclusivity that binds not by pressure, but by permission. Remember, consent is continuous. Respect is non-negotiable. Trust is the currency. Key 6. The full-body orgasm, wave through the nervous system. This isn't tied to a single point. It's what happens when you've lit up so many pathways that the climax rolls like a wave from the soles of her feet to the crown of her head. Her legs, back, scalp, everything tingles and contracts. Time blurs. The room goes quiet even if the world is loud. And the secret is that the end is determined by the beginning. Every kiss, every whisper, every pause you honored has been priming her for this. It's less about what you do in the final seconds and more about how you composed the entire piece. When this wave arrives, it feels like meditation and hunger colliding, a moment where lust and love stop fighting and simply merge. Once she has this with you, the bar moves. She will compare without meaning to. Few will meet it, fewer will surpass it. The thread that binds all 6. Across every key runs the same principle. You don't chase pleasure, you command the conditions for it. You control your breath, your patience, your presence. You study her cues and listen to her words. You care as much about the frame as the finish. You honor boundaries, seek enthusiastic consent, and never treat any of this as manipulation. This is about unlocking her potential, not bending her will. When you do this well, you don't just give her pleasure, you give her safety to explore depths she didn't know were hers. You become memory, not because you shouted, but because you stayed when others rushed. Not because you knew 100 tricks, but because you mastered a few truths. Mastery means patience over pressure. If you hurry, you flatten the experience. If you pace, you deepen it. Presence over performance. She doesn't want a show, she wants you. Listening over guessing. Ask, confirm, adjust. The greatest skill is responsiveness. Restraint is power. The ability to pull back at the edge can turn a peak into a journey. Consent is foundation. A confident yes is the only path to real surrender. Hold these truths and the 6 keys stop being isolated moments. They interlock, each one priming the next. And tell her body and mind associate you with discovery itself. That's how a woman moves from, "he was good," to, "he changed me." Bringing it all together. Start with the spark, but don't confuse it for the fire. Build trust until the deeper doors open on their own. Blend currents when she's ready and anchored in your presence. Approach the gate with reverence, not entitlement. Treat taboos with maturity, empathy, and clarity. And remember that the most powerful wave is composed from the first touch. The first breath, the first promise you kept by going slow when every nerve asked you to rush. You don't need 1,000 techniques. You need awareness, timing, and care. The 6 keys are not about conquest. They're about communion, about guiding her into depths that become part of who she is. And by extension, part of who you are together. Open the door, lead her inside, and leave your name written in the walls of her memory, not with noise, but with undeniable presence. If this opened your eyes, don't stop here. On Stoicism Drive, we turn philosophy into practice, calm presence, disciplined desire, and real connection. Like the video, subscribe for more, and drop a comment about which key shifted your perspective the most. Share this with someone who's ready to move from motions to mastery. See you in the next one.